Hi YouTube, today I am going to start the population topic with you. I'm probably going to split it up because it's such a big topic and I don't want my videos to, I want all my revision videos to be about 20 minutes, so there's going to be like part 1, part 2 and whatever, so we'll see how we go. So first there are keywords which you need to learn. Birth rate, which is the number of births per 1,000 per year. Death rate, which is the number of deaths per 1,000 per year. Natural change, which is the difference between the birth rate and death rate. Natural decrease is when the death rate is greater than the birth rate. Natural increase is when the birth rate is greater than the death rate. Zero growth is when the birth and death rates are equal. Exponential growth is when growth rate constantly increases. Life expectancy is the number of years a person is expected to live. Okay, so the first part of this is world population. World population is growing exponentially. Currently it is about 7.2 billion, but you can check that more accurately on a world clock. I will link you to the one I used for this video. It also has like all this cool stuff like number of blog posts posted today and things. Anyway, the world population is expected to peak at 10 billion in 2150, which should then be followed by a more stable period of zero growth or natural decrease. In the world, birth rate is between 5 to 40 per 1,000, depending obviously on the country you live in. Death rate is between 5 to 20 per 1,000, again depending on the country you live in. Most countries are in natural increase because of a decreasing death rate and improved healthcare. The demographic transition model, which should appear on your screen now, is shows the stages of population in countries. So stage 1 is the high fluctuating stage, low life expectancy, high birth rate, no healthcare or birth control. An example I've got is tribal people like in the Amazon or something. There's not many stage 1 countries at really, but these are really undeveloped places. Stage 2 is the early expanding stage, decreasing death rate in increased life expectancy. Agricultural countries, they have better healthcare and they have large families. Shows the stages of population in countries. So stage 1 is the high fluctuating stage, low life expectancy, high birth rate, no healthcare or birth control. An example I've got is tribal people like in the Amazon or something. There's not many stage 1 countries at really, but these are really undeveloped places. Stage 2 is the early expanding stage, decreasing death rate in increased life expectancy. Agricultural countries, they have better healthcare and they have large families so children can work on the land. An example of this would be Afghanistan. Stage 3 is the late expanding stage, decreased birth rate and death rate. An example of this would be Brazil. Stage 4 is the most sustainable and it's the low fluctuating stage, low birth and death rate. The birth rate increases in good economic times and decreases in bad economic times. An example of this would be the UK. Yay, go UK! Stage 5 is a rising death rate and aging population. An example of this would be Japan. So, factors affecting population growth. Well, agriculture change means, as technology is improving, less people are needed to work on the farms. So people in agriculture areas don't need as many children to help run their farms and keep their farm going. Urbanization, well, there's rural to urban migration. It leads to population growth in urban areas. Because of education, parents are now wanting to do the best they can for like less children. So they spend more on each child. Parents think education is really important, so they want to give their children the best they can. So that can lead to like less like population growth. The emancipation and status of women. Well, now obviously women are like work, because as you know, in this country previously they were meant to like stay at home and look after their kids. Now women are like getting jobs and things. It means like they're becoming more educated, because previously they're taught to like speak French, draw and sew, but now they're like becoming more educated and want to like get good careers. So they spend more time working on getting that career and like establishing their career. So it decreases their fertile window, because women are like fertile between the ages of roughly 13 and 50 or something. So if you like spend time educating them and then they want to get a job, like, you know, it's suddenly there's like a shorter fertile window. Also, like when women are in jobs, if they choose to have children, childcare is like really expensive. I remember my history teacher saying like how expensive childcare was one day. I can't remember like the figures, but it was quite a lot, like because she still has one of her children in childcare because like he's too young to go to school. Yeah, he's like 3. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent, population pyramids, our pictures should be coming up on the screen right now. Stage 1 is wide base, high birth rate, curved sides, high infant mortality, and a high death rate. It's like a concave shape. Is that right? Yeah, concave. Okay. The steep top indicates the lack of healthcare, as very, very, very few people are living to an old age, which would indicate the low life expectancy. Stage 2, death rates fall. There's few elderly people still though, because the healthcare still isn't that great, but like it's not as curving in the sides, it's just more like steep at the sides. Stage 3 is a narrowing base, decreasing birth rate, higher life expectancy. This is becoming more of a more convex shape. There's a narrowing base because there's more education and less like agriculture work and more technology. So people are having babies later and they don't need as many babies because of the lower infant mortality and more development in the country. Then stage 4 has straight sides, a steady birth rate and an increasing life expectancy. So it's got like a wider top because of the improved healthcare, availability of adequate nutrition and clean water, good sewage systems and things, which leads to more older people living. Now stage 5, there's an increasing elderly and the middle age is larger than the younger. This is really unsustainable because it's like an aging population. The birth rate is lower now than the death rate because of like less people are choosing to have children, because like for various factors, including like women getting jobs, various factors, and like people aren't having as many children, so like they may have like just one child or something. Yeah. Computer programs now allow us to predict future population patterns Less developed urban countries have more males in younger age groups. This is because in less developed agricultural countries, they need the males really to work on the farm. Apparently women can't work on farms. I strongly disagree with that. I know a woman might not want to work on a farm, like not all of them. Some of them might. I think if you were brought up on a farm, you'd want to work on a farm. But like, yeah. I'm going on to a tangent now about like the views of women. Alright, let's shut up. Rural to urban migration is more common in less developed countries. Middle-aged men tend to travel, which means in urban areas there's more middle-aged men. Okay, so sustainable populations. Well, sustainable population is the growth and development of a population is at a rate where it does not threaten the success of a future generation. Stage 4 is the most sustainable. Go UK. And stage 5 is unsustainable. And now for the dreaded case study. Case study. We all know how important these are though. So China. This is about China's one-child policy. So in the 1670s, China experienced rapid population growth. The government realised growth would mean that there would be a huge famine. So in 1979, the one-child policy was introduced. So people must not marry until they were in their late 20s. They were only allowed one successful pregnancy. They were sterilised or had to abort a future pregnancy. The rewards were that 5 to 10% salary rise for limiting family to one child, priority housing, and free education and family benefits. So this really kind of draws you into wanting to have one child. The punishments are a 10% salary cut, massive fine, lack of funding for education, and a lack of funding for healthcare. So people couldn't really afford to have more than one child due to these factors. Also, second children born abroad were not allowed to become Chinese citizens. The government may cut off workmates' pay to force them to abort the child, which is really horrible. Like, it's kind of like turning people against you, like the government turning people against you so you can do what the government wants. This is a really creepy one. Older women watch over couples, and this is called the granny police. How scary is that? Like, to make sure they didn't have children. That's scary. The exceptions to the one-child policy are that minority groups are allowed more than one child, because obviously minority groups in China only make up 20% of the population. So this wouldn't make a drastic difference to the population in China. Also, these minority groups would die out if they only had one child, which wouldn't be good for China. In rural areas, you were allowed a second pregnancy if your first was a girl, because they needed men to work on the farms, because apparently girls can't work on farms now. But good that they could have more than one child for having a girl. That's good, because some people want more than one child, and like, it's wrong to like not let them have more than one child. And yeah. Okay, so the positives of... So now we're going to move on to the positives and the negatives of a one-child policy. The positives are that the famine did not occur, population growth slowed, there were 400 million fewer births, there was an increased living standard, women could now concentrate on careers, which develops the economy of the country and makes it more sustainable, and overall benefits the country. And because of the increasing wealth and women now being able to focus on careers, and less people being in the country than like there would have been if like the one-child policy wouldn't increase, there's increasing wealth, which means people can choose to break the policy, obviously, because they can pay the fines, they can pay the healthcare, they can pay the education and all of that. So the negatives are forced abortion in the 9th month. I don't know all of your views on like abortion, but I think in the 9th month it, like, you know, it can live outside of the womb quite happily and quite easily in the 9th month. It's like, it is definitely like a life then. Like, it would be really traumatizing for the woman, and would cause quite a lot of emotional problems, and it's like ethically wrong. Local officials had power over people's life, which is really scary. Like, do you really want local officials to have control of your life? There's a female infanticide because in China they prefer men to women. So when girls were born, not in rural areas, they were quite often abandoned and put in orphanages where they were treated absolutely horribly. If you watched that documentary about like the China one child policy in your geography lessons, you'd know what I mean. Also they were killed, like just for being girls when they were like babies. Chinese children are spoilt, obviously, because like if you're an only child, quite often only children are quite spoilt. I mean, I don't know, like not everyone who's an only child. I'm not saying, oh, you're an only child, you're definitely spoiled, but I know a few people who are like only children and they like expect everyone to do what they want when they want, and it's like really stupid. So yeah, that could happen. Young couples have 4 parents to care for, and obviously this is a lot of people to care for when there's only 2 of you. Especially when you're balancing out your own family and your own careers when you're an adult. There's a massive gender imbalance, obviously, due to the female infanticide, which means that in future this could lead to an ageing population, because the men won't be able to marry, not all the men will be able to marry women and have children with the women, which will lead to an ageing population, and that's not good. This huge gender imbalance could just make China unsustainable. Like, it could put China into stage 5. Stage 5, which is unsustainable. Yeah, so that's all I think I have time for in this video. The next video I do will be starting on the case study of Kerala, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!